Hey guys, you seem to like the last video about how we just talked about the universe and all of the crazy stuff that's in it that doesn't make a lot of sense. So here are more things that don't make sense. Well, let's talk about one thing specifically. Consciousness, reality, dreams. Those are three things, James. Those are three things. Also guys, my chair's broken. Take a look. That's not ideal. I'm also missing an AirPod. There are 2 bolts missing on this chair out of 4. I know one of them is over there, but I need all 4 of them for this to work. I'm also missing the washers. How the hell do I need a new chair. I need new AirPods. This sucks. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna title the video. How do you know you're real? Are we real? How do we know? Right? There's that old quote, forget who says it. It says, I think, therefore I am. Makes sense, right? I think. I'm experiencing consciousness. I know I'm real. How? How do I know I'm real? Well, because I'm here. I'm experiencing this. How do I know this is real? Because other people are experiencing it too, right? Right? Well, how do we know? Because there's always, I forget what this theory's called, but people say like, what if you were the only person in the universe and everybody else is not conscious? Now it seems impossible, right? Because if somebody else came up with that, they must think they're the only person in the universe, which means they're wrong because you know that you're real and you know that you're conscious. But if I'm just talking about me, I'm the only one experiencing my thoughts. How do I know that you're real? Well, you're conscious, right? Or are you? How do you know? I mean, you didn't know you were conscious until you were 4 years old, 5 years old. What was happening before then? You don't know. What was happening before you were born? You don't know. How are we experiencing consciousness? This shit is weird, right? People always bring up like simulation theory. What if we're in a simulation? What if we are in a simulation? We could be. Think about it, dude. Think about all the simulations we run as humans. Like think of it, what if we're just a little petri dish for aliens that they're just kind of checking in on every couple millennia, and they're just like, hey, look at our little biodome, Earth. Look at our little thing. Look at our little Earth. Look at all the humans that are destroying each other. Genuinely, how do you know you're not in a simulation? Seems pretty hard to prove, right? In that last video, we talked about the creation of the universe. Said there are basically 2 possibilities for how the universe was created. Or I guess there's 4, because I've thought of a few more since then. 1, we talked about God made the universe. Okay, who made God? You guys in the comments said, well, God has always existed. Okay, so then the universe has always existed. But if something has always existed, how is that possible? How was it created? Well, it wasn't created because it always existed. Then how are we creating things that, because a lot of things that we experienced didn't exist until we created them. So what's up with that? What's up with the universe? And we can't say the universe doesn't exist because you're experiencing it right now, and you kind of don't have any proof to say that it doesn't exist, and you have more proof to say that it does. Why though? How? Earlier in this video, I mentioned dreams. Let's talk about them. Dreams are freaky. Dreams are weird. How do you dream? I don't understand. So I go to sleep at night, right? I get an REM sleep, deep sleep. First of all, what is that? How am I unconscious for 8 hours and I can't remember a single thing that happened? My brain shuts off. Being unconscious is more of a mystery to me than being conscious is, I'll tell you that. Conscious, I can get. I'm awake, I'm experiencing this. Kind of makes sense. Unconscious, what's happening? How am I still alive if I'm not thinking or telling myself to breathe? Obviously my body does it for me, but how? How? But dreams. Do you guys experience a dream town or a dream world, a dream city, whatever you want to call it? I experience a version of my town in the dream, but it is not the same town. For instance, my elementary school, middle school, and high school are all right next to each other in a dream. This is not true in real life. In my dream world, there's an ice cream shop, Baskin Robbins, but they sell barrels of ice cream. This one's pretty cool. I like going to that shop in my dreams. Another thing, there are like skate parks in the dreams that don't exist in real life. There's a skate park in the park by my mom's house. Doesn't exist in real life. The park does, not the skate park. There's a skate park by my girlfriend's old school. Doesn't exist in real life. How am I able to fabricate this own reality for myself without doing it on purpose? How am I able, okay, I experience dreams as 100% reality, right? What I mean by that is, when I'm dreaming, I don't know I'm dreaming. I think I've talked to you guys about this before. Some people lucid dream, they have control of their dreams. That's great. I don't have control of my dreams. Whenever I'm dreaming, I'm conscious, but I'm thinking, whatever's happening right now is what is happening, and it's true. Another freaky thing is memories get implanted in my dreams. I think this probably happens to you guys too, right? Please comment and tell me that it does, or else I'm gonna be a little scared. If I'm dreaming about working, right, I'll have a memory that one of my coworkers, like, no call, no shows, for instance. Say I'm working in my dream, and then someone's talking to me in my dream about something, and I'll have this memory in my dream, which is weird because it's kind of a dream inside of a dream. But I'll have a memory of someone doing a no call, no show. And I wake up in the morning, fully confident that that memory existed, until I become conscious in this world, and I remember that never happened. So how did that get in my mind? How was my reality so easily twisted? And if my reality was so easily twisted in a dream, why can't my current reality be twisted? I mean, think about the world right now. Think about all the crazy shit that happens. Think about all the history in this world. There are so many unexplainable events. There are so many things that sound fake, that sound like an Onion post, but they're not. They're actually real news. You guys know the Onion, right? The Onion is like that fake news source that just does like ridiculous stuff. It's satire. A lot of the current news headlines look like the Onion headlines. It's weird. But if I can experience full consciousness in a dream where I perceive 100% reality, and that can be twisted, and that can be torn a bunch of different ways and bent, who's to say this reality can't be bent? Now, from this observation, it would seem that the current reality, the real world, as you might call it, couldn't be bent as easily, because in dreams, weird things can happen. For instance, I've gotten arrested in dreams before. I've had recurring dreams about being arrested, and in the dreams, I'll be arrested. The first time I got arrested in a dream, a cop put one cuff on my wrist and one cuff on himself. What the fuck is that gonna do, buddy? Obviously, that's not something that can happen in real life. But then you think about real life, and there's so many things that wouldn't normally happen in real life that could happen. How do we know which is which? How do we know what's real? We don't. How do we know we're not in a simulation? We don't. People say it's a 50-50 shot. Either you're in a simulation or you're not, or it's a 50-50 shot. Either God's real or God's not. And then young Sheldon would say you're mixing up probability with possibility or something like that. I don't know what he says. But in a world where all this crazy shit happens, how do we know that all this other crazy shit isn't happening? Consciousness is a very weird thing to think about, because you physically cannot imagine what it was like before you were born, and you physically cannot imagine what it's going to be like after you die. Now, if you're religious or you're atheist, you might say, well, it's just going to be black, it's just going to be nothing, or I'm going to go to heaven, and I'm going to experience this, and I'm going to be myself, or I'm going to get reincarnated as another human, or as a dog or something. Okay, but I'm saying you physically cannot imagine what is going to happen after you die. You cannot know, and you cannot know what happened before you were born. Yes, you know you were a sperm and the egg, and guys, we know how life works. We know how life works. When a mommy and a dad. There's an Alex G lyric that really sticks with me from Things to Do, or from Time/Space, depending on whichever one you like better. It says, you were born inside of your head, and that is where you'll be when you are dead. I've talked about this before, right? Everything came from up here. All your reactions, all your sound, all your smell, taste, sight, touch, it all came from up here. Everybody experiences it differently, which makes me wonder if I'm experiencing this, and I'm the only person I know who is truly real is myself, right? But how do I know that I'm real? Well, because I think. We talked about this earlier, because I think. But everything was created up here. But if I'm not real, and what is real? Because something must be real in order for all this to happen. If nothing was real, nothing would happen. At least that's what I like to think. In conclusion, we are real. I think. Can't really prove it, but I'd like to think that we are. And it's something interesting to think about. Dreams are something interesting to think about for sure. Consciousness. How the hell did I get here? What's gonna happen after? What happened before? Who am I? What was I? Am I just a particle of the universe that came into existence with a bunch of atoms clumped together and an intelligent brain? Sorry for the weird video, guys. In conclusion, I think we're real for now. Until I can prove otherwise or prove that we are. But I think we're real. I think we're real. Sorry for the weird video, guys. If you guys don't like these, let me know. I'll stop making them. But if you do like them, please let me keep going, because I like making these ones. It's interesting to think about stuff. I like thinking. Anyways, man. See you guys later. Subscribe.